Night Nation. Trey Strelko here. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Baseball run rules Memphis en route to the semis. We have football game times. Bring on the nightmare for Boise State and a stadium quest like no other. Let's welcome in one half of the Sons of UCF. Adam is running late. This is UCF Mike. Mike, how are you?
Doing good, man. We finally did it. We got rid of the big guy, and now we get to play around. The kids have taken over. Let's do it.
All right. That sounds good to me. I don't know that Adam can get in. I have control right now, so maybe if I see him pop up there, do we just ignore him for a few moments?
I don't even know who that guy is anymore.
Yeah, that's right. How about baseball today? 17-1. They run rule Memphis. They improved to 30-28. Mike, they got the big bats 7 home runs, including an inside the park home run.
2 touchdowns and a field goal we put up today. 17. That was huge. Exactly what we needed today. I said on our show this week, this was the biggest game of the tournament. We had to win this game to put us in a good position for the rest of the tournament. Now we're in the driver's seat. Saturday, we would have to lose twice. And if we only just win one, we advance to the championship game. So we're exactly where we want to be. And the run rule today helped out so much. We didn't have to use the bullpen, right? So starter went 6 innings. Game was over in 7. The team is fresh. We have all our arms ready to go, even if we have to play 2 games on Saturday. I love where the baseball team is sitting right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. They had 7 home runs today. That included 2 from Josh Crouch, who we spoke with post-game. The team is hitting well at the right moment. They have positive momentum. Again, the inside the park home run. Everyone enjoyed that from Tom Jostin. And as you mentioned, you like when you don't have to go deep into your bullpen on the second day. 14-10 on Tuesday over Cincinnati. This one, 17-1. Jack Sinclair goes 6, 5 hits, a run. But most importantly, Coach Lovelady said after the game, the bullpen is intact, and they've got the game Saturday now, 9 a.m. against the winner of ECU and Memphis. So that's a knockout game. Boy, now we're big fans of Memphis, right? You want Memphis to knock out ECU. And the Knights get another day game on Saturday. They have positive momentum. They have to win it if they have any postseason hopes in the NCAA tournament.
Right. Memphis did us a huge favor already, beating East Carolina the first time. I don't know if we can count on them beating them again. We saw today that they're really not that great of a team. Remember, they run ruled us earlier in the year, and then we came back and beat them up 3 games in a row. So to ask them to beat East Carolina again, that's a little much. We should be able to handle East Carolina 1 out of the 2 games. We're in the spot where we need to be. And you mentioned all the home runs before. You forgot one big one, Boner. Boner with the grand slam today.
Yes. Well, when the grand slam may be the least important home run, or one of the ones you forget, right? That inside the park home run is really made the headlines today. But Knights win an afternoon game here on Thursday. Perfect lead into us. The other big news, several game times announced today. And it will be a Thursday night opener, Thursday, September 2nd, against Boise State in the Bounce House. That is a 7 o'clock start. ESPN, no doubt, weighing in. They wanted that matchup.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I might start tailgating right now. In fact, there were rumors that this game was going to be put on Thursday a couple of weeks ago. I booked my hotel room back then, so I'm ready to go. It might be one of those leave the wife and children at home kind of thing. Go up to Orlando for 24 hours. Watch the game, come back home, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. It's a long weekend, but that's going to be a thriller, man. Gus Malzahn's first game on the sidelines, the place at 100% capacity. I am pumped. I cannot wait for September 2nd.
I did a quick poll on my Twitter, @SignPez. Will this game be a sellout or not? 95% of respondents say sellout. So you say sellout, packed Bounce House against Boise.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost there already. The UCF is releasing the numbers. We're at about, 93% sold out for season tickets. You figure the students are going to pack themselves in there, 12,000. It's all going to depend on how many tickets Boise State returns. And if they give us enough time, I think we can get rid of those too.
Charge on Tour continuing tonight in Oviedo, the 3rd stop, and Athletic Director Terry Mahajer is being reported on Twitter saying, and it has been already mentioned this week, 100% capacity tailgating returned, so they are expecting a big fall. Some other game times, Mike. Bethune-Cookman, 6:30 p.m., a night start, Saturday, September 11th. We already knew that the Friday game at Louisville, it's a 7:30 start on ESPN. Navy has a game time, Saturday, October 2nd at Navy. That's a 3:30 start on your favorite network, CBS Sports Network. So plan now to try and find that one. Friday, October 22nd, Memphis home game, 7 o'clock. That's a night game on a Friday, ESPN2. And Black Friday showdown with the Cows. Undecided whether it's a 3:30 or 7 o'clock start, depends on how the teams do, ABC or ESPN. So we're starting to see a couple months out, less than 100 days, the picture coming together.
Yeah, it's good. You can plan early because a lot of times you don't have that much time to know when the game's starting. Usually we're in that 12-day window, and you don't have this much time to plan hotel rooms, flights, whatever you got to do to get in town for the games. At least you got half the schedule down now. You know exactly what day, what time. That Bethune-Cookman's a 6:30 game. That's the same day the Cows and the Gators play each other over in Tampa. So that's a full afternoon. If you want to watch that early, tailgating in the parking lot, then you go watch the UCF game. That's a nice afternoon. The Cow game on Black Friday could be an afternoon or a night game, but you know it's not a noon game, right? So that's big news for everybody. That's always cool. And then the other night games during the week, Louisville and Memphis. That's another one I got my hotel room already booked for, the Memphis Friday Nighter. That one I may take the family up, maybe do some Halloween Horror Nights or something the next day.
There you go. You've got it planned out. You spoke about it on your show, the early line, Boise State, 10-point dog to UCF. No doubt that'll tighten up, but it's a good TV game, isn't it? Gus Malzahn's debut and these big G5 Titans, right?
Yeah, if you look at the other games on the schedule for Thursday night, it's no doubt the primetime game. And the other big name, I think, is what? Rutgers and I forget who they're even playing.
Rutgers is never the other big game.
Right. So that was a no-doubter Thursday ESPN slot. And it sets up as the first big game of the college football season. I'm not sure if there's a week 0 this year. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But if not, hey, first big game of the college football season. First time you're going to see college football back with crowds in a long time. And it's going to be in a bounce house. You know that place is going to be nuts. It's just a good scene nationally for UCF.
Again, UCF planning 100% capacity. The latest update, 93% of season tickets sold. Less than 100 days. You got to think that they can close that gap. Other news, you talked about it on the pod this week, the announcement of a home and home with Florida Atlantic, which you like, right? It's in your backyard, September 17, 2022 at FAU in Boca, and September 13, 2025 against UCF in the Bounce House. A lot of our fans like this. I asked, what do you think? What do you think of the matchup? Hate it? Only 5%. 33% said love it. 62% said because it's not that big matchup that they hope. At Charge On 3 on Twitter said another home game. Woo. And at Dan UCF fan says my old stomping ground, so I love the visit. Got to fill schedule holes in the short term. I like the idea of staying in state.
Yeah, I don't know who the 5% are that hate it. They're either Cal fans getting in on your poll or just people that like to cause trouble. There's no reason to hate the game, right? We got to fill the schedule somehow, and FAU is a nice in-state opponent. It's good for recruiting. It's good for the team. It's good to get a win. It's a game we should win. We've never lost to FAU. We should keep that going. For me, it's perfect. I've said it many times. It's very close to my house. 20 minutes, and I'm there. I wish we could play them every year in Boca. I don't even care about getting the home game in Orlando. That's just me being selfish. But it's a good rivalry. I mean, it's not a rivalry, but it can develop into one. I mean, FAU has been more competitive than the Cows in recent years. So, and we've seen that we can lose to FIU. We've done that a couple times. So it's not just a gimme game. It's a nice game. I'm excited for it, especially this year. And then you got to wait a few years. Mohajir said that's just the way the schedule worked out. I guess they probably already had enough road games in 23 and 24. So it just worked out that they're going to come back in 25. That's fine with me. I'll be fine if we schedule FIU in 23 and 24 to fill in that schedule.
And it's a good time to remind folks, as we've featured on Sons of UCF Live and as on the pod, you broke this news during your interview with Terry Mohajir. He revealed to you first that the FAU series was upcoming. The non-conference schedule in 2022, September 1st at FIU, September 10th against Louisville at a home game, September 17th at FAU, and September 24th against Georgia Tech, unless, of course, there are some changes, and we don't even want to talk about weather. Let us, without Adam, I will try and bring in our first guest, Mike, so bear with me. There he goes. This is John Morning. He and his son Miles are out at the Charge On Tour live from Oviedo. John and Miles, welcome to the Sons of UCF Live.
Can you say hey, buddy?
Hi.
Hey guys, talk about the night. What is it like? I see Adam is with us now. Adam, welcome in. We just brought in John and Miles. Take us to Oviedo, John. Tell us what's going on at the Charge on Tour stop.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a fantastic night here. It started out, they had a pretty decent amount of time where you could go around and talk to the coaches and chit chat, and it was fantastic. So we got to talk to Coach Abe and Johnny Dawkins, and Miles got to meet all of them. And a little backstory is Coach Abe went to the University of Iowa where she played basketball, and I was actually a student at Iowa while she was playing there. So kind of a little bit of history there. I did my grad school at UCF, so I'm kind of an alumni of both, and we both are, which is kind of neat to know. And so talked to talked to Coach Dawkins for a while. Fantastic guy. The soccer coaches, the golf coaches. You know, one of the most important things when Terry got up on stage and was talking about the success of every program at UCF, and when you look at it, you think, how many NCAA berths, how many tournament victories, how many conference victories, conference championships UCF has had in just this last year, more than a lot of schools see in a decade. And it was a phenomenal time. The coach, or Terry, talked about the hiring process with Gus, and how Gus was one of his first call before he even officially had the job. And very interesting aspect. And, you know, we've kind of, to be 100% honest, we were on the Gus bus before there was a Gus bus. So when they were talking about coaches, we were discussing who we needed at UCF. And something I've always said, and I told Coach Malzahn this after the event, is that I've always felt that UCF needed a head coach, not somebody learning how to be a head coach. So I think that was a fantastic thing. But, you know, the basketball coaches talked at length about wanting to shape and influence the younger generation and teach them everything they could get from school. And then when Coach Malzahn came on, he talked a lot about the opportunity here, talked about the quality of young men on the team, about how not a single player entered the transfer portal and they went a full month without a head coach. So that's how tight of a team he has and that he's inheriting here. As well as then talking about how he's trying to get to know the players when he first came on board, talking to each player before spring camp and then again after as it came to a close, making sure he's getting to know all of them. So it's all about shaping young men and the quality of the coaches he brought in. Not that not saying they're not the best coaches. I think we got a great set of coaches, but also that the quality of them coming in and caring about the young men and the quality of that they bring on the personal side, and the ability to mold and help these young players become prepared for life as they move forward. So it was a fantastic night, and I got to be honest, I couldn't have said more.
John, what's the crowd like out there? How many people are out there? Is it lively, festive?
Right now, not many. But I will tell you, it was a decent-sized crowd, and a lively crowd. It's Oviedo, so we're pretty close to campus. And Miles and I, we don't live in Oviedo, but we drove up from Orlando, a whopping extra 15-minute drive. So, but a great crowd.
Miles, I want to ask Miles, what was your favorite part of the night?
What was your favorite part, buddy?
Meeting Coach Malzahn.
You look like you got a football there. Did you get him to sign it?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. Who else signed that thing?
It was Coach Dawkins and Coach Malzahn.
Awesome.
So I saw on Twitter that Coach Dawkins revealed a little bit about future scheduling.
Oh yeah, it sounds like we got some pretty good games coming up. Especially this next season should be a lot of fun at home. So if you haven't bought season tickets yet, do it now. A little pitch for the basketball team. But I mean, think about it. We have Michigan at home. We're playing Florida State again. The schedule, we have one of the toughest schedules in America, and I think we have some great opportunities to play some fantastic games here. And we also have probably the best recruiting class they've ever had for the UCF men's basketball team. So it should be a lot of fun this year, and it'll be a young team, but it'll be a fantastic team. Exciting to watch.
John, I know you followed UCF for a long time. How excited are you personally for this upcoming football season?
I couldn't have been happier. I am excited. I'm always excited. I'll be honest. Last year was a big disappointment, not because the way the season turned out, but just because of the restrictions in the bounce house, which made it very difficult for us to go and just to see the players, especially because Miles has some personal relationships with some of the players that graduated this year, so it was kind of sad for him. Miles, who was your favorite player?
Otis Anderson Jr.
Miles is a big Otis fan, so seeing Otis graduate and head off for better things is sad for him, but I think it's going to be fantastic. And we have pretty good seats. Everybody always says, well, why don't you go sit in the tower? I'm like, I'd rather sit down in the bleachers close to the team and close to the fans. And Coach Malzahn told me that today that, well, if he's trying to figure out to go on 4th and 1, he's just going to look up at me and ask me. So it should be fun.
Did you get a chance to speak with Terry Mohajir, the new athletic director?
Oh, yeah. I've talked to Terry several times in several events that we've had. Fantastic guy. You know, I told him a story. About a year ago, right before the pandemic hit, Miles and I went to a baseball game, UCF baseball game. And I don't know if anybody's been there, knows the sound system was horrible at the stadium. I mean, it sounded like you were listening in a tin cup. I literally talked to Danny White. He was at the game and mentioned, hey, what are you going to do about the sound system? He goes, oh, it's on our list. I went to the first game we went to this year, and I tweeted at Terry. I said, hey, the sound system really needs to be upgraded here. And he tweeted back he was working on it. And anybody that's been to a baseball game later in the season knows that it's been fixed. And we have probably the game experience at UCF baseball games is phenomenal now. So if you didn't go this year, wait till next year. I think it's an even better team, and it's a much better game experience. So Terry is a man of his word. He gets things done, and he has more energy than I'll tell you what, any other athletic director I've ever seen.
We had a little bit of a dip in momentum, but with the hiring of Terry Mohajir and then Gus Malzahn, you can feel it on the Charge on Tour and across town, can't you? And especially amongst the fan base and alumni base and students. Momentum is back. How much are you looking forward to UCF Boise State September 2nd?
I am looking forward to it more than anything. And I may have an extra ticket. If anybody wants to go, let me know.
Well, you see it right there at the JC Morning. How about we end with this? Miles, give us a Go Knights and Charge On.
Go Knights, Charge On.
All right. Thank you, Miles and John, joining us from the Charge On Tour in Oviedo. Guys, appreciate it. Go Knights.
Charge on.
All right. Thank you, guys. Adam, welcome in. Running a little bit late, but you were there when we got to speak with John and Miles, who part of that Charge On Tour tonight, the third stop after Mike got things going down in South Florida.
Yeah, see, I knew not to believe Mike when he told me the start time for these things. I knew I should have fact-checked with you, Trace. I apologize.
Oh, man. Can we get this guy off the show again? We were having such a good time without him. Just the two of us. Now here we go. Now I'm the third wheel again.
If I have to be honest with you, Adam, Mike and I at about 7:57 started to talk about if I still had control, and obviously you've regained control of the show, would we let you in? And we thought we might let you hang out in the waiting room for a few moments.
Man, you missed like 10 minutes, and all of a sudden you're done. Jeez, tough crowd.
Well, of UCF.
Yeah. Well, welcome in, Adam and everyone, Sons of UCF Live. We talked earlier about game times and knowing the Boise State game is a Thursday night opener. Other football news. Well, but before we do that, Adam, what do you think? You like that game time, ESPN primetime slot, national profile matchup?
Yeah, I'm always a fan of that first Thursday night college football game. To me, it feels big. You come home from work, there's a game on. It was, I think one year, wasn't it South Carolina UCF, Mike? I feel like they were the opening game one year. And that's always a fun time when you have that game on. So for the fans, is a Thursday the best day? Probably not, right? You got work, travel, things like that. But I think it's a good spotlight. And listen, I think for us, Gus deserves this kind of national pedestal to himself, and ESPN obliged, and they must feel the same. So I think it's a win-win. It's better than being buried at 3:30 on a Saturday playing Akron on ESPN Double Plus or something. So I'll take it all day.
Double Plus.
Yeah, and the opponent works out great. We're not, like you just said, we're not opening up against an FCS school. Boise is a name. It's a primetime game. People are going to want to see this. And the game you're talking about is 2005 against South Carolina. We were still in the middle of our losing streak. We lost the first couple games of that year until we finally beat Marshall.
Other news, this is being May 27th, the dead period for football ending June 1. UCF already announcing one of their camps completely full. This is going to be a very important time. All of this recruiting, right, been done via Zoom and calls, and now they're going to get to meet players.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Gus do such a good job, at least getting kids excited about coming out there. But we've always said, you get on campus, the campus sells itself. So this is his opportunity. This is a chance to showcase that, to show off the new coaching staff, to show the new buildings off, all the things. I know facilities is something we're talking about later on, but when you get on campus, typically people are amazed and surprised at what they see. And Gus does a nice job. He sent a cake to somebody's mom or something for their birthday. So Gus clearly has some creative ways. So maybe Gus's creativity with our campus, with the momentum and the future of college football, and maybe we get a few more booms out of this deal.
You think he's been doing a bang-up job on the transfer portal? You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till he gets these kids on campus in face-to-face meetings with them. I see 4 or 5 stars lining up all summer coming to UCF.
I like it. The PFF college rankings, UCF checking in number 34. Florida 7th, Miami 18th, the Seminoles 65th. Expectations maybe just middle of the pack there for UCF, 34th. Do you like going in a bit of an underdog going into the season?
I do, and I also think at this point, we've talked about this before, Cincinnati is the defending champion of the conference, and if you want to beat the best, you got to knock them off the throne. And I think UCF is putting themselves in a position to do that. I feel comfortable that we have the players, we have the coaching staff, that we can absolutely make that a reality. But I can't fault pundits, and I'll use pundits because they haven't seen us really play. They haven't seen this team get together, who are looking at things on paper and saying UCF might be good, but we just don't know how good. I think that's kind of fair from that respect. But I have no concerns that once the season kicks off, that we're going to be able to play with anybody on the field.
Yeah, I mean, we're not starting too low. Whereas if we come in and have a nice performance against Boise, we start out 3-0. We beat Louisville. We're in the top 25 right away, I think. So, and Gus has talked about having a chip on his shoulder. Now the team can start off the season with a little chip on their shoulder and start things off the right way and really boost themselves heading into the season. You don't have to start out at 15 because, as you see, there's a glass ceiling anyway. If you start at 15, they're only going to put you at 8. We could still end up there anyway.
At DK Sportsbook, out with projected win totals for the AAC teams. 9.5, the over-under there on UCF's win total. I know you guys are taking the over. You predict them to go 12-0 every year.
I mean, why stop now, right? I mean, obviously, like I said, it sounds like a homer, but when you look at the schedule, I think we can beat every team on the schedule. Does that mean we will beat every team? Does that mean every bounce will go our way? No, but I think we have the talent. I think we have the skill. I think we have the, especially with the new guys we've brought in, I think we have all the things that you would need to beat all the teams on our schedule. So until they line them up, I guess I don't see any reason why I would change that.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time finding 3 losses. You tell me we're going to lose a game, maybe 2. I could buy it. Losing 3, then I think you're going to start seeing people lose their minds on Twitter. Lose 4, forget it. The Gus bus will be completely set on fire, but I don't see that happening at all. 9-3 is reasonable. 10-2, it can happen too. And of course, I'm going to predict 12-0.
Cincinnati predicted at 10 wins. Memphis 8.5. Houston 8. I'm looking. Let me look here. I think it's onto my 3rd page of notes. Cows at 3 wins, which may sound a little generous.
I don't know who the 3 wins are coming against. I got to look at their schedule again. Do they play UConn? I don't even know.
Are they counting the spring game in this? Is that one of the wins?
Let's just
it isn't about beating the best. It's just about
playing them. You got to play them.
Playing the best.
Our baseball team just scored 17 today, 14 last game. Tell me the Cows score more than 14 and 17 points 3 times this year. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know how do they come up with these rankings to begin with, right? I think they're looking at last year and the rosters, and I mean, this is all just funny money at this point, right? This is all just funny math. I don't know that it really means a hill of beans. It does tell you. I don't know what a hill of beans is, by the way. I've never seen one, but it just tells you. I think that there are people who still want to see what UCF can do, and they want to see us in the field, and I think Gus and that group will be up to that challenge.
Navy, 3.5 wins. I think they're really looking down on Navy. You know that no matter Navy's win-loss total, they're going to give you a hard-fought game, and it's at their place. So that was a tough game for UCF a couple years back.
It's always difficult, right?
Yeah, no, go ahead, Mike. Yeah, they definitely play a tough style of offense.
They'll drain the clock on you. So if you're one of these teams that likes to run quick things, it gets you out of your rhythm. I think we have a bye, either heading into that game or right after that game. Right? It might be right after that game, which is good too to heal up because the way they do their blocking, usually you come out of that game a little banged up. But the Navy looked like crap last year. Let's be honest. What was the game in the first year? The game of the year last year where they gave up 70 points. I think they tackled 2 people. They said they didn't tackle people all off season.
Yeah, that was BYU, the first game of the year.
I think you just described the Boca Bowl.
Also,
so BYU did the same thing to us, I guess. But Navy had a couple other ones like that later in the year. They were off. I'm not sure who their – doesn't really matter who their quarterback is because they don't throw the ball much. But, we got to be favored in that game. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a tight one going into the second half.
Cincinnati with the 10 wins projected, the game time for that one not announced, but you'd imagine that is a primetime game at Cincinnati with perhaps control of the AAC up for grabs.
Yeah, I have to hope so. I mean, I don't know the schedule and the rest of the games that weekend, but, every year it seems like UCF Cincinnati, if the cards break the right direction, we've all got those college game day thoughts in our head. Obviously not in Orlando, so that would be a bit of a bummer, but still great to be featured on that. But you would think it would be a prime slot, again, depending on what are the games of that weekend. But if we're both undefeated heading into that thing, it'll be really the battle for the AAC championship. So I don't see why I wouldn't get a prime window.
We got to talk about the other teams in this conference. Cincinnati at the top of it that have out-of-conference games that can really help us. Cincinnati plays Notre Dame earlier in the year. That's a big one. If they can win that, and they come into our game undefeated, it just bolsters our schedule that much more. I'm looking at Tulane getting a home game against Oklahoma. The Cows obviously are at home against the Gators. East Carolina's at home against South Carolina. All these teams playing big-name schools in their own building. I'm not saying they're all going to pull an upset, but 1 or 2 would be beautiful. And even Houston plays Texas Tech in a neutral site game. Big games for the conference. We got to be big fans of these other teams.
As I look at this list, 11 teams in the AAC, I have been to 7 of these venues. What about you guys? How many of these 11, which includes UCF, have you been to?
In the AAC, USF and Memphis, but not even a game against Memphis. I went to the Liberty Bowl. Other than that, in our conference, not many. I know the guests we're bringing on, and I know I've been to 15 different college stadiums, but not American teams.
Wow, Mike just gives away the secret he just took your teas, Trace, and absolutely just stomped all over it. My goodness.
Well, a few weeks back, we had former UCF football player Ron Johnson, who, while he has not been to a game in every stadium, he has been to every FBS stadium. Our next guest is on a quest to see football in every FBS stadium, all 130 of them. He is Michael Baker. You can follow his pursuit at CFB Campus Tour. Really, you're just 20-some away?
That's correct. I've been going since 2017 and hitting about 25 new ones per year, and we have 20 left to knock out this fall.
Simple question for me, maybe 2. How and why?
How? I do real estate in California, so I'm self-employed. I try to work from January to August like crazy, and then during football season, try to work enough to maintain my employment status. And why, most goals that people have, they don't, I didn't set out to do it. I just was traveling, made a couple campus stops at a couple of colleges in Colorado, in Boulder and in Fort Collins. I enjoyed it. I thought about, hey, let's visit more. In 2017, I visited all 130 FBS schools. Then I started going to games, and, like anything, you start with a small goal and you branch it out. I never thought I would be at this point, but I think every college football fan imagines traveling to stadiums, whether it's just in your state, in your conference. and I just took it to the next level, and it's been a great experience.
I love the backgrounds you got there. Obviously, some UCF stuff. Have you been to a game at UCF yet? And which game was it?
So I've been to 2 games. I went last year for the Tulsa game, and that was a rough one. But I tell everybody the most fun I've ever had a college football game was the 2018 AAC Championship versus Memphis. That was the game that Darrell Henderson from Memphis went off 200 yards in the first half, 4 touchdowns. And then UCF came out in the second half. Darryl Mack had, I think, 4 or 5 touchdowns. And it was just the most fun I ever had at a game. It was a party in the stands. You know, the bounce house is a real thing. And to this day, I haven't duplicated that environment. So it was the best experience I've ever had at a game.
Wow, that's pretty good. 2 AAC schools you have not yet been to, Navy and Temple. How do you compare UCF and the campus stadium against the others that you have been to in the AAC?
So it's interesting because I try to get in the weeds and hear what people have to say. If people say negative things a little bit about the construction of the bounce house, I think it's a great place to watch the game. There's not one bad seat there. I've enjoyed it every single time, even in the rain against Tulsa. You know, Temple, I have a thing against college football teams playing in pro stadiums, and I don't like it. I wish everybody had their on-campus stadium. So the link is the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. I mean, I'm going to try to fit in a game this year. It's the same. I know you guys, USF does the same thing. They play in the Tampa Bay Bucks Stadium. I mean, there's a Buccaneer ship there, and they're the Bulls. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then Navy, I had a chance to go last year. They were playing BYU opener. I didn't go because they didn't allow fans. So this year I'm actually locked in. September 4th, their first game against Marshall. I'm going to go to that one.
Has there been a stadium? Some of these are in really like outskirts college towns. What's been the most difficult travel you've had to try to get to one of these more obscure stadiums?
Yeah, I would say maybe Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina. Happy Valley for Penn State. Those aren't anywhere near airports. I just got done doing a spring FCS travel season because they pushed their season to the spring, and a lot of those schools, whether it's your North Dakota State, South Dakota, they're off the beaten path. So, you tend to see the bigger conferences have more localized locations. Vanderbilt's in Nashville, Georgia, Athens is about, 45 minutes from Atlanta. And then the smaller schools, they're, the directional schools, as we call it, they're a little bit further away from a major airport. Obviously, UCF is an exception, being in Orlando.
A lot of these stadiums are probably some older places. Which place is the biggest dump you've ever been to? And you said, man, I'm never going back to a game there.
Oh, my goodness. Some stadiums have they've branched off of, and it doesn't look natural. I had this question the other day, and I've been used to so used to speaking positive about everything. I can tell you it's not an FBS school, but I went to Kennesaw State in Atlanta. It's a soccer stadium. I did not like that. I'm going to throw out some names. Kansas Stadium is old. They've retrofitted it a little bit. The scoreboard is way away from the stadium. The other thing I have a pet peeve about is I don't like stadiums with tracks. I think that is the ultimate indicator of a small school. So you got like Buffalo, for example, they have a track around their stadium. Places like Boise State, Appalachian State, they filled in their tracks. So, I'm not a huge fan of, the LA Coliseum is gigantic. There's a lot of obstructed seats you can't see. So I do like older stadiums. I love the Sun Bowl in El Paso. Aloha Stadium, unfortunately, just got condemned for disrepair in Hawaii. So I'm not just, in love with the new stadiums, but there are some older stadiums that I think are on their way out.
I thought for sure Eastern Michigan might be on the list of venues that you might not enjoy.
Yeah, the only thing that makes it unique is they got the gray turf, so I guess you could do that. But that one also has a track around it too, and typically it's like minus 50 degrees when you go there, so it's not necessarily they call it football weather, but when you're sitting in the crowd and you're not playing, it's not football weather. You're just freezing your what.
What's funny about that stadium is it's one exit removed from Michigan Stadium.
Yes.
So you see it on the highway, Eastern Michigan, this exit, next exit, Michigan, and you're like, ooh, if you're choosing between those two. I see you still need Army and Navy, which means you've been to Air Force. I've been to a game at Air Force and really enjoyed the flyover before the game. What have been some of your favorite traditions that you've gotten an opportunity to see?
Yeah, I mean, every military academy school is going to be great. Actually, September 11th is Army is hosting a game, and the 20th anniversary of September 11th. So I'm looking to try to go to that one. I went to Clemson, running down the hill, Death Valley. That was cool. When you go to Texas A&M, another military academy, they have the cadets on the field throwing arm signals up, coordinating chants with the 12th man. You go to Georgia Southern, they have an eagle fly down on the field. The Texas A&M band, they formed the T at halftime. I'm looking to go to Ohio State this year and see them spell out Ohio. The cool thing about going to this is when you start off and you think, oh, it's only the big schools. But when you go, I've had some of the best experiences at G5 schools. My joke is I could go to the big house in Michigan and parachute off the top. Nobody cares. I went to Georgia Southern for the 100th stadium that I've been to. And, I'm getting DMs and getting followed by the Coach Lunsford. I'm doing local interviews. I got to fire the cannon on the field at the ROTC to end the game. I got a message from Cole Swindell, who's a country singer, telling me to enjoy the town. So, when you do this college football travel, yes, you want to knock out the big schools and you want to do it, but the interaction you get with the G5 schools and the fans, and they take pride and they want you to see it in their eyes. I mean, to be honest with you, when I'm done with all the 130, I'm going to go back to the places I have the most fun, and places like UCF, I've had great experiences at.
Do you have a favorite team? Who's your team? Like, do you root for a college football team yourself?
So I grew up in San Diego, and I would consider myself, if I had to say, would be an Aztecs fan. But we don't have those historical. It's not like if you're an Oklahoma fan, you have to hate Nebraska. So there's no built-in venom from San Diego State that would, you would go, oh man, I hate Alabama no matter what. So I mean, my dad played college football. He was on BYU, and then he transferred to a small school in California called University of Pacific. They don't have football anymore, but they did for a while. But yeah, I mean, I was a pro guy for a long time, but I just got tired of, this team. I live in Northern California. We just had the Raiders go to Vegas. The A's are talking about the leaving. The Warriors went across the bay. The Niners aren't in San Francisco anymore. So you'll never hear a college like UCF say, hey, if you don't add 5,000 seats to the bounce house, we're going to be moving to Fort Lauderdale. It doesn't happen. So I love college sports. I mean, I'm a San Diego State fan, but not enough to prevent me from enjoying, all the schools out there.
Well, when you go to a game, who do you decide who you're going to root for? Do you just root for the home team? Do you have a rooting interest? How do you decide who you're pulling for when you actually show up at a stadium?
Yeah, I don't have I call myself a neutral fan. Do I have secret favorites? Yeah, I have secret favorites, but I call myself a ghost at the stadium. What I want to do is blend in as much as possible. Sometimes I'll get a media credential, sometimes I'm not, but I want to document it. My angle is, if you have announcers at the game, maybe you want to ask them questions. You can't do that, obviously, because they're announcing. I want to be someone that you communicate with during the game. I just went to a playoff game at the FCS level at James Madison, and people were tweeting about how, oh, it was a terrible punt, or these guys can't kick. And, I tweeted back out, you should see the wind here. The reason the guy got hit in the back with the punt is because the wind blew it back, 10 yards. And so I want to be able to provide people with real game time interaction. So I don't necessarily pick who to root for. I just want to be there and kind of take it in and be a neutral party.
I think when you do your second go around to all these schools, you should go as a fan of the opposing team to every game and see how everybody treats you.
Yeah. Oh my God. I went to Baylor, and there's a guy on Twitter. His name is T-Rex, and he's about 6'5" Baylor fan, and he wears a green skull mask to every game. And we grabbed a beer before the game, and I wore a Baylor shirt in with him. And, I'm like, hey, I'm with this guy. I mean, I'm 6'3", but he's 6'5", big guy. And I felt good. And he sat in a different seat. And as soon as I went to my section and saw 99.9% Texas fans, I had to change back into my neutral gray shirt just to save myself.
To wrap up, Michael, I will tell you then UCF head football coach George O'Leary, prior to UCF's game at Ohio State, said it would be one of the quieter stadiums that UCF had played in. And I was at that game, and he drew a lot of flack from that on sports media. However, he was quite right. They cheered when they scored, but the rest of the time, they just watched the game. So I hope you noticed that, unless you're going to Ohio State, Michigan, of course. That's a different atmosphere.
Yes.
Michael Baker, we appreciate you joining us. You can follow him at CFB Campus Tour to follow his latest pursuits. And as you saw from one of our fans, 2-letter words, next time you're in town, let us know. We'd like to meet you.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. UCF is a great school, and every time I talk to people, I tell them the most fun I've ever had at a game is at the Bounce House. So I look forward to going back as soon as possible.
All right. Thanks a lot, Michael. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Boy, it'd be good to be in real estate right about now.
Sounds like it. I mean, you guys get to travel around for 4 months at a time, going to every game. Sign me up for that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. A lot of people always say they want to rent like an RV and spend the summer going to like baseball stadiums. I think it's a cool endeavor to figure that out. College football is so tough, 130 plus stadiums to get to, and the travel logistics, and that's going to take you a bunch of different years. So hats off to Michael for figuring out a dream and being like, you know what, I'm just going to go do this thing and actually, putting his money where his mouth is. I think what hurts him though, I saw his little list there when teams build new stadiums, now he's got to go back and revisit. I mean, he should get a say in some of these. Like, hey, before we build the stadium, do you mind? Would you like to come back? He should be on some sort of a fund committee or something when they figure that out.
My streak was snapped because of the pandemic. I'm not sure where I'm heading this fall, but Louisville I've got circled on my to-go list. So I wish him luck with this. I have a buddy who's 40 stadiums away, and he's averaging about 4 or 5 a year. So, takes you a while. But when this guy's trying to get all 20 this fall, need to change careers, need to go into real estate.
Yeah, he's knocking out 2 or 3 a weekend. It sounds like it. There's only 12 weeks, right? 13 weeks if you count the bye.
I guess he's just flying between places. I had every Major League Baseball stadium till Atlanta built a new park, and now the Rangers. So I'm 2 down, as you mentioned, Adam. UAB has now built a stadium. And what about Hawaii? They're in temporary surroundings for a couple of years because the Aloha Stadium where UCF played in the Hawaii Bowl and against Hawaii has been condemned.
Can we all agree, by the way, though, that he had the best background this side of UCF, Mike?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I love this background. So good job out of him. He knows exactly his audience is, and he catered to it.
Well, do we all believe, by the way, that UCF was his favorite game? Do we think that's a integrity check? Do we believe that's his actual favorite experience?
I will watch next time he has some sort of media appearance and see what he says. Yeah, it's Eastern Michigan. I enjoyed myself.
An important update coming soon. Yeah, he did. He picked a good one.
That's a good one. If you're going to say that, say it about that game or the War on I-4 game in 17. So
integrity check. All right, moving along. Before we get to some mailbag questions, you talked a little bit about it on your show this week. Softball falling to Florida State. A good year for the Knights, 41-19-1. 5th time the program has won at least 2 games in the NCAA tournament. Had opportunity to speak with players and head coach Cindy Ball-Malone following the game. Want to share a little of that sound with you. Senior Denali Shoppower on what the team proved this season.
I think that this kind of proves that UCF it's not just the team, it's the program. We're building something here. So I think us making it to the regional finals, it shows our conference is getting better, our team's getting better, and our program's getting better.
Which I think is interesting in the 20th season of UCF softball. A lot of talk about the program itself getting better. UCF hadn't been in an NCAA tournament since 2016, and head coach Cindy Ball-Malone very proud of what the team did. Remember, this has been a COVID impacted year. Everything has been disrupted. And she said that this team really building a legacy, the legacy of it, building the program.
The best thing that we can, the best accomplishment that I can have as a coach is when those 3 or even all 11 seniors come back, they're proud to see their program and their alma mater continue to keep grinding and doing what they're doing. And so, that's the imprint that they put on these freshmen. And it was so fun to see just like that hunger in their eyes. And they're already going to play like juniors next year because, that's just the experience they got and the leadership they had.
So a lot to look forward to for UCF softball. And as we said at the outset of the show, baseball still hanging on there. They're going to have to win out to make it to the NCAA tournament, but they've got momentum on their side. Adam, run ruled today. They did Memphis 17-1. You got to like that, 7 home runs for the Knights.
Yeah, we talked about it last week with Harry Hikari. I mean, UCF's really got nothing to lose here, right? You go out, you play loose, you just have some fun, you let it rip, I think was the way Harry phrased it. And you've seen that so far in the tournament. The team, the bats were definitely alive. I think today you saw some big performances out of a bunch of different guys that, throughout the season, that consistency would have been fantastic. But listen, nothing to lose, right? Go out and play. I mean, if you win, you win at this point. I like where they're at right now. We'll see if pitching can hold up. Obviously, they have some battles yet ahead, but you've got to be kind of pleasantly surprised that they've risen to the bell so far.
And Mike, go ahead.
Let's root for Memphis and Cincinnati. East Carolina to go 15 innings tomorrow, burn up the bullpen, and put us in an even better spot.
Mike, you had opportunity to speak with Terry Mohajir just a couple of weeks ago. I'm curious not necessarily when he spoke with you, but when he spoke with the crowd, did he mention facilities? Because the first question in our mailbag this week from @MikeWEI55, specifically, how is UCF way behind in terms of our facilities? Did he mention facilities on the Charge on Tour stop in South Florida?
He didn't mention a facility by name, but he did say we have a lot of work to do. And our guest earlier said the baseball stadium with the sound system. We know the problems they had with the scoreboard. We've done some updates here and there in the last few years. I still don't think it's ready to host a regional, which is going to be a big issue. Same thing with softball. Maybe get some shade in one of these things. We have to maybe add some seats. There's still a lot of room to grow for both of those facilities. And same thing with soccer and everything else.
Well, we love the bounce house. Wouldn't you agree that the best stadium on campus is the basketball arena?
Yeah, basketball built the same year as the bounce house. And I think it actually cost, just as much money, or maybe, was it even more, I think, to build that thing?
I don't remember what that cost now, but it is held up. If you went in there right now, you wouldn't know that it is as old as the football stadium. I think specifically to the question, since I go to a lot of these venues, that none other than the basketball arena really stand out. And when we talk about softball having to travel to Florida State, being able to host regionals, you need an upgrade in facilities. And appreciate John mentioning the sound system, which, by the way, really has consisted of them putting additional speakers at a stadium seat level. But the scoreboard was down to one blinking red light this season. So that's all that's left of the scoreboard. And when you go out to softball, you bake in the sun. I think the venues are starting to show their age. And, if Timo is talking about a $100 million capital campaign for facilities improvements, there are a lot of ways you could improve the facilities at UCF. @Sublime_Knight, who is a friend of the program. UCF football teams have always been made up of players with chips on their shoulders, with a big influx of 4- and 5-star transfers, all, of course, going to be downgraded to 3 stars at some point. Does the impact on chemistry concern you? And I think you guys have talked a little bit about this on the podcast. How concerned are you about the chemistry formed on this team?
Yeah, I think I do this every week when we talk about it, right? So my overall take is I'm 90% happy that we're getting these 4- or 5-star guys into the program. We're getting some big names, some quote unquote Power 5 guys. But I don't think we can be unrealistic to the 10% of the unintended consequences, right? In my opinion, a few things could happen. there could be some infighting, right? So the guys who are there obviously are saying, hey, who are these new guys? If that causes a faction. I feel like you saw some of that under the Heupel regime. I feel like Heupel maybe wasn't as well equipped as a coach to handle that. You got to think Malzahn will be well equipped to handle that particular situation, but you have to consider that. Will there be some jealousy, infighting? Two, what does it do to our overall depth? So the guys who've been at UCF, are they going to, one day you wake up, you're the number 4 receiver, and now you're the number 7 receiver. Are you sticking around? Are you going to try to head out elsewhere for the portal? And then 3 for me, what does it do to high school recruiting? Are we burning up scholarships in future years? Is that going to be something where it's used against us in high school recruiting, where they're going to say they're going to bring in some guys over you from the portal? But overall, I think it's 90% good. I think fans just shouldn't turn a blind eye to the fact that there could be some unintended consequences. I think anytime you bring talent in and talent can push talent, that's always a good thing. But I don't think we should be blind to the fact that this isn't going to be 100% slam dunk.
Yeah, the thing that's going to matter most is, are we winning games? If we're winning, nobody's going to be complaining about who's getting the playing time, this and that. Winning is the most important thing. But the thing you mentioned about the high school recruits, that can be a factor. We may not be able to sign as many high school recruits going into next year because we're using up the scholarships with the transfers. We're just going to have to be more cautious of who we're offering, and that may actually get us better recruits. So we're not going to know the true answer to this till after the season, or maybe after a couple years, to see how the whole thing plays out. But right now, I'm not too worried about it.
Actually, I'd be curious, Trace. Our guy Lee Wigglesworth here is doing some research for Mike. Maybe while he's on the interwebs, he can do the same for me. What's the most number of transfer portal transfers a team has had? Because I think this is sort of the new age of college football is, our team's going to be able to really build a roster out through the portal. And I wonder what the overall number of transfers is, what that record would be. Because if this is it, or if this is kind of a new trend, I mean, Gus is certainly trying, the opportunity to build through the portal. And we don't know if that's an unprecedented thing, if it'll work out or not. But I don't know if anybody knows, but I'd be curious to see what the largest number of transfers in between a season would be for a program.
I don't know a specific number, but I think you've seen in the last couple of seasons, SMU has really been able to build its team through transfers. So, and successfully so, right? So, and did you know, in the statistic I read, that only about 1/3 of players that enter the transfer portal change teams. So just because you enter that transfer portal doesn't mean you land somewhere and immediately compete. And I think competition is good for sports and every venue. So I think they're only going to benefit. Remember, Gus hasn't lost anybody really, that is a significant contributor, and certainly none have gone to Knoxville, right? So when we're talking about team chemistry, maybe team chemistry wasn't where it needed to be following that Boca Bowl loss, right? So I think Gus has infused team chemistry. At @GoKnights_Paul J, who you know very well. What transfer is going to make the biggest impact on the season? And he has a specific question for you, Adam. With Marlon gone, who is your breakout player? You ready to name that breakout player on the Sons of UCF Live, or are you going to build a crescendo to that at some point during the pod summer season?
Yeah, I can't give away all the secrets here this early in the offseason. I appreciate Paul Jones for the question. Always hard-hitting questions. He's UCF Mike Jr. in that respect. But which transfer is going to make the most impact? I mean, I don't want to steal Mike's guy. I know he's going to go with the Big Cat. So I don't want to steal Mike's guy because I know he's got dibs on the Big Cat. So I don't want to take him. But I'll take a flyer. Let me go with Jordan Johnson, the receiver from that just came in from Notre Dame. We know this kid's got a bunch of talent. It seems like he had some challenges maybe acclimating at Notre Dame. So let me go Jordan Johnson, just because it's worked out well for UCF in the past for guys named Jordan Johnson.
And we lost Mike.
Well, he's saying I'm going to go for the Big Cat because I love the Big Cat. The Big Cat's fantastic. His audio isn't working right now, but he's going to nod his head that he's talking Big Cat right now. Yeah. So
I'm going to throw an audible on one at 2 words. If the secret for success is to underpromise and overperform, could Gus be setting UCF fans up for a letdown by raising fan hopes? How about that one?
Setting up makes it seem like it's nefarious. I mean, I don't think he's going in to try to, pull the wool over somebody's eyes here. But Mike said it earlier on, the first time we squeak out a 20-19 victory, people are going to have their hands on their heads. We're going to be surrender cobra positions everywhere. So certainly the buildup will be, it has been climatic. We'll see how it happens when, or what happens if we get to that point. Because either way, when we lose the game, the fans are going to be, insufferable. But I think you'll take this positive momentum, and everyone who's out there realistically, while we kid about being 12, 13, 14, 15 and 0, I think everyone understands that each game is unique, and we know the ones that are challenging. So I don't know that it's nefariously building that up, but certainly you're excited about the possibility. Mike's also excited about the possibility.
Mike, we have no audio from you.
Audio. Yeah.
I will end with some homework for you guys, as we only have
left.
a couple of minutes left in the show. At UCF One Big Ohana, Eric asked, now that all sports are done, well, baseball's not done yet, give each sport a letter grade on their season, from football to track and field to soccer to softball, both men's and women's, and the outlook on next season, to which I responded, it is only an hour-long show, and we had other guests. So how about we do this? Let's break it up. Next week, let's grade the men's sports, and then, because there are twice as many women's sports, we'll take a look at them the following week. So assign a grade. That's your homework. Adam, you'll hear that. Mike did not hear it and may not come prepared with those letter grades. Mike, are you back? Do you have audio?
You tell me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. The ratings went up though while you were silent. That's all I know. I don't. The question that we're going to punt till next week is assign a letter grade to each of the sports. That's Eric's question, and we're gonna take a look at the men's sports, from football to baseball, next week, and assign letter grades. Okay, that's your homework for next week. Sound good? What is he saying? What does he say? Football. Okay.
We can hear him. I'm not sure he has problems. We actually have audio from him now. So
when he was silent, he was talking. Now he has audio. He's holding up signs. Anyway, next week, hold those grades, those letter grades till next week. I got to say, I have listened to all 134 episodes of the podcast. I was duped today driving around for work. You did your best 3 guests. And I'm driving and I'm approaching a red light, and Adam goes, Trey. And I thought, I'm going to be in that top 3. And then it was Trey Nixon. And I found that I was not listed as one of your 3 favorite guests. And I was a little offended.
Yeah, you didn't make the criteria. I forget what it was, but whatever it was, you weren't eligible. So
Certainly wasn't memorable.
It's an unfortunate omission on our parts. Not sure how we're going to get over it as a show, but we're going to persevere forward. But we had some fun thinking about what those interviews were. Obviously, we've been fortunate to have a lot of great guests on the show this week. Mike Sims Walker, former receiver and DB at UCF. We replayed our interview with him from 2019. Always good to catch up with some of the former Knight greats. He didn't quite crack our top 3, but Trace, you heard both Mike and I give you our top 3s. Do you have a favorite list, either mine or Mike's, in terms of the interviews you've enjoyed the most?
I thought, by the way, that would have made a good poll question. Which list did you like better? I like Mike's list. I got to tell you, bookends of George O'Leary and Mike Golick. That's not bad. It's a good guest list. I liked my favorite part, after I felt offended for about 10 miles of the broadcast that I was not listed, was when you rattled off about 10 or 12 weeks of guests. 10 or 12 weeks of guests. That's more than some shows do in a year.
Listen, we're content factory over here. We're not good with the poll questions, so we definitely appreciate the assist on that one. But look, we've been fortunate to have a lot of great people on the show. Hope to have some more coming up in the near future. And I think Mike said it best. We haven't taken a show a week off in, since at least August of last year. So it's a good run. It's a grind when you do a show every week. I know not everyone can relate to that, but it's definitely a grind when you get a show in each week.
The list I was going off were just the players and coaches and ADs. We didn't even have the list of all the media people we've had on, like Trace back then.
Oh, here we go. At 8:59 in the dying embers of the Sons of UCF Live. I get a mention.
New Big 3.
As one of the top 178 guests that have appeared on the program.
Chantel McCabe, number 1. Eric Burst, number 2.
Other man, yeah.
Trace Joko, number 3. How's that? You're in.
There we go.
Oh, Brandon Brandon Hellwig. I mean,
Oh,
boy,
Yeah, my
calling again. Eric Lopez, he called your daughter's softball game.
oh.
that's right.
You know what? Elo's never been on the actual podcast. He's been here on the live show, but we haven't had him on our weekly show yet. So I don't know if that counts.
glaring omission.
We have to get him on.
Yeah, we've never been on any of their shows, so I mean,
That's true too.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that is true. Want to thank John and his son Miles for giving us some of the sights and sounds from the Charge on Tour stop in Oviedo, and Michael for showing off his wealth in real estate and what he can do with that. And Adam, thank you for joining us for 50 minutes of this hour. We appreciate it.
I think it was the same time Mike was on. He left for a while. We couldn't hear him, so I don't think either one of us actually got a full show in this weekend.
You didn't dock our pay a little bit, Trace. You get an extra couple bucks.
Well, you're my two favorite co-hosts on the Sons of UCF Live, and I don't need to run any polls for that. So just sucking up for a mention on your next show. Episode 135 coming out next week, and we hope you will join us for the Sons of UCF Live, 8 to 9, streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. For now, I'm Trace Strelko. For Adam and Mike, go Knights!
Miles on!
Oh, Nor's on. Oh.